So now you're ready to enter a sample of student spellings and parse and align those spellings for SSS categorization. There are multiple ways to enter a sample. The most frequent way that we use is via a CSV file that was created in Excel. In the last video, I showed you how to go through a sample of student spellings and identify the spellings that are appropriate for SSS analysis. So we are going to input that particular sample from the CSV file, and I'll show you how you then parse and align those spellings. So I'm going to select this one, New Session from CSV File, and I'm picking that because that's the one, as I said, that's the most frequently used. So I click on that, and you might recall that I named that Participant 1 a while ago. So these are all of the spellings for the words that we went through in the previous sample, as I showed you, and these were all the spellings that we deemed appropriate for SSS analysis. So now your task is to go through each incorrect spelling and determine whether or not the SSS automatic system parsed and aligned the way that you wanted it to. So in the case of words that are spelled correctly, in this case honey, they're given a score of 3. That means correct. I really don't have anything to do because it's correct. There's no judgment to be made. In the video on how the scores are determined and how to interpret those scores, you'll understand what this means. But in the meantime, we're just focusing on how do you parse and align a spelling that isn't correct. So I click on the first spelling that I see that is not correct, and I go look over here. And this is the way that my system judged that these spelling elements in the student spelling should be parsed and aligned with the spelling elements in the target. Recall that the spelling elements in the target, L, E, A, F, those are determined because there is an entry in the dictionary for leaf, and it is parsed this way. So I take a look at this, and I like that L was aligned with L, but I don't like that A consonant E was not aligned with the vowel here. The system thought that A went with the vowel and FE went with the final consonant. I disagree. I think it should be A consonant E. I think that should be the representation of the vowel spelling for this word. So I click on Edit Match, and then I put my cursor and click right after the A, and you see the toggle VCE. I click there, and this says, okay, I now have this vowel pattern, A consonant E, and it's being aligned with the target vowel EA. If you were following the scores down here, you would notice it really didn't change anything, but it's important to me because in our work we are studying the evolution of spellings across time for various kinds of target words. So I want to make sure that this student spelling is aligned with the target EA. So I'm happy with that. Then Jet's correct. I don't have to do anything. And now let me look at the way the system aligned Unice with Unite. And I like what it did. Of course, all these are correct. So these were all matches. And then it put the final C with the final consonant. And because C is an illegal spelling for the T in that base word, it scored it as a 1. Remember that what was determined to be a legal spelling was specified in the dictionary. Then I go down to Cure, and yep, that's probably how I would align it. I would put the S with the C, the vowel would be aligned, and then here's a C for the R, and I would be thinking to myself, where did that C come from? Does that make any sense that the child would spell the R with a C? I bet the C came from a transposition. A transposition is defined as an odd alignment that likely results from a child's knowledge that that letter is someplace in the word, but he's failing to align it with the appropriate sound. This little box, transposition, if you deem that there is at least one instance of a transposition in the word. So I'm going to click that box. The next incorrect spelling is SAIL for SHIP. I take a look, and I don't like that it put the A with the SH. So I'm going to say Edit Match. I'm going to put my cursor there. I'll use my space bar, and it moved my A over. I'm happy, but now it put the I, L, and align that with the P. I want the I with the vowel. So I'm going to put my cursor there, hit backspace, put my cursor there, hit forward space, and I keep using the backspace in my cursor until I have the consonant elements aligned with the target consonant elements. Vowel aligned with the vowel and a consonant with the consonant. And you can see that in this case, none of these spellings for these target elements are considered legal because they aren't entered in the dictionary's potential legal spellings. For cry, the system aligned C and R, but the system didn't recognize that R is actually representing in the correct version the juncture change is Y to I. So I need to take this and backspace it so that the Y is aligned with the I, and it's the affix that's considered deleted. Notice what happened when I changed that. That pound symbol is what happens in the spelling and the future analysis when an element is considered deleted. So there, in my opinion, and I think you will agree with me, there is no representation of that affix in the spelling. So that little pound is there, and you'll see it was given 0 points. Fire's correct, head's correct. Let's see how it aligned. Day, yep, consonant goes with consonant. This vowel pattern is with this vowel pattern. And you see that it was given 2 points because somewhere in my dictionary I have they entered, it's parsed out, and under this element in my dictionary, AY is entered as a legal spelling. Joked, yep, that's the way I would parse and align it. The Y goes with the J, the O goes with the O, and every other element is considered omitted. Now this is an odd thing about the way SSS works. You'll notice that in a word like joke going to joked, we consider the affix as a separate unit, ed, and then we consider the juncture change to actually eliminate the e from the base word. So this kid actually gets 3 points for that omission. And in our lab, we've talked numerous ways about how to handle this, and we decided that we could live with these anomalies. You may disagree. You may want to parse this differently in your dictionary, and if that's the case, then this delineation and resulting scores would reflect your decisions. For the target heard, that's the H, there's the schwa and the D, and what the system has done is it aligned the H with the H, it aligned UN with EAR and the T with the D, and so I really don't care, honestly, whether the U goes with the vowel since it has that R part, so I'd probably leave it alone. Again, if you wanted to put the N with the T part, you could change the alignment. Pie is correct. Make, yep, this is exactly the way I would parse and align it. The M's with the B and everything else is parsed and aligned to align up with the correct version. White, I look at how the system guessed. I like the W, I like the T, but I don't like that N was put with the vowel. So I'm going to put my cursor there, use the space bar, and now this is an I for the I consonant E, and NT for the T. I don't know if you noticed, but that resulted in the student losing points because now the T is not considered correct. With stop, both the juncture change and the affix are omitted, and that's what the system guessed. I agree. Bowl is correct, 9 is correct, and then for chain, the system was smart this time. It recognized that A consonant E as the vowel and aligned it, and the G went with N, and so the CH got 3 points because that's an exact match. The A consonant E was awarded 2 points because that is a legal spelling for the A sound, and I specified that in my dictionary. And then the G is not a legal spelling for the spelling element represented by N. Now that I like this session, it's exactly the way I want it, I would say save this session. And now it's going to be, you'll see in a moment, this is participant 1, and when I save it, it's going to have an extension .sss by it. In the previous example, I showed you how to start an SSS session by inputting data that had been saved in an Excel or spreadsheet file in comma-separated value CSV format. There are two other ways to enter data into SSS, and one is by loading a session that you had already done. What we did when we went through that file a while ago that I had imported from a CSV file, we went through and made decisions, etc. That's considered an SSS session. So I can click on Load Save Session. You might recall that we saved it. So here it is, participant1.sss. That .sss is the file extension for SSS sessions. So I click on that and open, and there's my session. And when we talk about saving information to reports, this is why you may want to open a session later. Sometimes in our lab, we will go through and we'll decide that people have made certain decisions in parsing and aligning, and I might find that student 1 typically makes mistakes A, B, and C. After that's called to his attention, then he goes back and opens all of his sessions, and he can correct any of those parsing and alignment mistakes, and then save it as a new session, and then generate his reports from that corrected session. So now you've seen how to start a session by opening data from a CSV file, opening a saved session, or you do have the option to do a new session from scratch and there's nothing there. Honestly, I can't imagine why anyone would use this option, but it's there if you want it. In this case, you type the target and the spelling in directly within the SSS program. So the target word might be something like bake. The child spells it B-A-K, and then you go to the next line. And you can see how the system guessed that it should be aligned, and I actually like that. That's what I would guess as well. The word is rain, and the child spelled it R-A-N-E. And you see how the system aligns it. Yep, that's the way I would have done it by hand. I like it. And you can continue and then save this as a session. So you've seen 3 options for data entry. New session from a CSV file, which is the one we use most often. Sometimes we load saved sessions, or you can start a brand new session when you launch the program and enter data directly into the system. Here at the end, ever so often, depending on how large your samples are, you will have gone through and checked parsing and alignment of several pairs, and so you'll want to save your session in case something happens so you don't have to start from scratch. Sometimes you might want to save the session with a different name, and you can do that as well. In the next video, we'll talk about how to export scores and analyze data that are generated from the SSS analyses.